Hello boys and girls, welcome to another English class. Today we are going to look at unit number 7 and the title of the lesson is Solang, Solang. Solang is a hill station in Manali. This lesson can be found on page number 31 in your Term 2 Learning Ladders book. Let's dive right into the story. Kanan sat by the window and looked out. Snow fell down in gentle drifts like cotton from a torn pillow. How many of you are familiar with that? Have you seen the cotton inside of a pillow? Yes, the snow looks just like that. And our main character of the story, Kanan, is looking out of a window looking at this snow. It was a beautiful sight to see. The closest thing he had seen akin to snow was the frost in his grandmother's old refrigerator when he went to stay with her for a couple of weeks during the summer holidays. What is the meaning of akin? Means similar. The closest thing that he had seen that is akin or similar to snow was the frost in the refrigerator at his grandmother's place. Every morning he would scrape off some frost and make a ball of it in his fist. During those times he had wished for an opportunity to see snow for real. That time had arrived. How many of you have seen snow? I have. If you haven't, I'm sure you're intrigued about how that experience is going to be. It's a beautiful experience. If you ever get an opportunity to experience snow, grab it. Alright, let's look at what happened to Kanan. One day in December, his father came home early and waved the tickets in his face. Papa, is it for real? Kanan just couldn't believe it. So he always wanted to see snow, and finally his dad has bought some tickets to go to a hill station where he can experience snow for the first time. Oh yes, we are off to Manali. So where are they going to? They are going to Manali. Towards the end of March, Philip smiled and nodded his head. After your exams. Wow, Kanan was at a loss of words. Was at a loss of words meaning so surprised that he couldn't speak. Now as we read, we find that his parents' names are Philip and Rita, and Kanan seems to be the only son, and now they are going to Manali on a holiday. Finally, Kanan was done with his annual exams and the whole family took off on this vacation to Manali. By the time they checked into the cottage they were going to stay, they were all dead tired. But Kanan was too excited to sleep. It happens to us a lot of times. When you're very excited, you don't feel like sleeping. But his mother, Rita, said, "You have to go to sleep now. Kanan, we'll sleep now. We have to be at Solang Valley tomorrow by 10 in the morning." So they are going to this special valley in Manali called Solang. They have to be reaching that place by 10 in the morning. "Isn't it beautiful, Mama? I don't think I'd be able to sleep a wink." Kanan grinned. Grinned means smiled widely. "I won't be able to sleep a wink." To sleep a wink means to sleep a little, like a wink. "You'd better, or else you'll be very, very tired tomorrow. You won't be able to enjoy the day," Philip said. That finally got Kanan into bed. No sooner had he snuggled under the blanket than he drifted off to sleep. So as soon as he got into the bed and covered himself with the blanket, he was off to sleep. Notice that sentence? No sooner had he snuggled under the blanket than he drifted off to sleep. So whenever you start a sentence with no sooner, there is a than in the middle of the sentence. No sooner than. His excitement could not hold him up much longer. Though he was very excited, he still went off to sleep. The next day dawned bright and clear. The air was crisp and thankfully it did not snow. After breakfast, the family set off for Solang Valley in a taxi. If you're familiar with a hill station, you would know that the roads would be narrow and treacherous, just like in this story. Solang Valley was very crowded. People from all over India had come there to experience the snow, it seemed. They were engaged in different kinds of sports. Parasailing seemed to be a very popular activity there. Parasailing is when you have a parachute which is towed by a boat and you get to glide in the air. It's a very adventurous sport and is very exciting as well. So now people were doing different kinds of activities at the hill station, at the valley, and Kanan is now confused about which one to choose, and finally he went with skiing. He was so excited, it was snow everywhere. Without giving an answer, Canaan jumped into the snow. His happiness was too much for words. They made snowballs and threw at each other and were having so much fun. And as decided, they had to go for skiing now. It was not hard to get an instructor or the ski gear. If you're going to a hill station on a vacation and you have to do a sport that you haven't ever done before, you need an instructor for it. Also, you need special gear when you do stuff like this. But it was not very hard for them to find any of these things because it was a touristy place and there were a lot of people there trying to do different kinds of sports. And they found an instructor and his name was Milind. He was a patient man who trained holidaymakers who had no prior experience in skiing. He helped Philip, Rita and Canaan with their equipment. Now that the skis were strapped on, Canaan found it very hard to walk. It was like walking on an oily floor. They started to slip and fall. And we read that they fell down so many times, but they were still laughing out of excitement. At first, Canaan was very impatient. He wanted to be an expert at skiing on day one. But his parents told him it's not easy to ski. You need a little bit of practice. So they practiced on day 1, also on day 2, and by the third day, Canaan was doing skiing very well. He was no longer falling down. He was doing it like an expert. He even learned how to apply the brakes by making an inverted V with the skis without overlapping their tips. Now that's a very important skill to have if you go for skiing. And even that, the instructor Milind had taught Canaan and he was a fast learner. He was truly happy. He skied again and again, hardly falling down. Milind clapped his hands in admiration. "You're a fast learner." Canaan beamed. After 10 days, it was time to return home. Every good thing comes to an end, especially vacations. So finally, it was time for them to go home. Canaan put his head out of the car window. "So long, Solang. I will miss you, but you have given me so many wonderful memories." Isn't that the case when we come back from our vacation? We are very grateful for all the wonderful memories that vacation gave us. Both the parents were also very happy, but they did not express their excitement and happiness like the way Canaan did. Instead, they smiled at each other and the whole family hugged it out. "My best holiday ever, thank you." Canaan hugged them back. In that moment, the trio shared their feelings with each other. Although not much was spoken, they understood one another by the warmth of the embrace, and they knew that this shared experience would always stay with them. That's the thing with family vacations, right? We always look back on those fond memories and are very grateful for them. That is the end of this story, and it's about a 10-year-old boy called Canaan, just about your age, who went on a vacation to Manali, specifically to Solang Valley. And what did he do there? He experienced snow for the first time and also became an expert at skiing. Let's look at the word meanings. There are a lot of words that are given there. Akin means similar, scrape, rub or remove the upper layer of the surface of the skin. Crooned means to sing in a soft voice to depict happiness. Likewise, there are more words that are listed there. Look at their meanings, understand them, and also use them in sentences so that you will be well familiar with those words. Let's look at Learn Words section. Rewrite the following sentences with proper punctuation and capitalize the first letters of the appropriate words. So when the sentence begins, it has to begin with a capital letter. So if it's not there, you have to capitalize that letter. Also, if there are names of people or places, you have to capitalize them as well. We also have to put the right punctuations at the right places. Let's look at the first one. I'm going out for lunch with Mr. Hussain. I has to be capitalized. I'm going out for lunch with Mr. M has to be capital, and Hussain, it's a name, so H is also capital. It is a normal sentence, so you have to put a full stop at the end of the sentence. So it has to be written like this. Number 2. Why didn't Vishal take the board exams this year? The W has to be capital because it's the beginning of a sentence. And what kind of a sentence is this? This is a question, so it has to end with a question mark. Vishal is a name, so V has to be capital. Number 3. Manisha and Supriya are very good friends. Manisha and Supriya are names of girls, so you have to capitalize the first letter. So M is capital, S is capital, and they are very good friends. That is the end of the sentence, so put a full stop there. Number 4, Harry, John and Mary are siblings. There are 3 names here, so they have to be separated by a comma. H, J and M have to be capital, and there has to be a full stop. So the sentence looks like this. Yes, that's the right way to write this sentence. Number 5, did you lock the door before leaving? It is a question, so it ends with a question mark, starts with a capital letter. That's all. Did you lock the door before leaving? Number 6, alas, the dog is no more. This is an exclamatory sentence, so it has to end with an exclamatory mark, and A has to be capital, and after alas you have to put a comma. So alas, the dog is no more. The second section is look at the anagrams given below and make new words with them. Anagrams are just sets of letters. So the first one is rose, R-O-S-E. Let's rearrange those letters and come up with a new word. We can make it as sore, S-O-R-E. My body is sore. Likewise, you can go ahead and do the rest. Let's look at number 3 also. Salt, S-A-L-T. The letters can be rearranged to form a new word, last, L-A-S-T. So there are 10 words given there, and I have worked out all of them for you for reference. We have come to the comprehension section. There are 8 questions based on the story. Go through all of them and find the answers from the passage. There is another section which is again answer the following with reference to the context. So there is a specific context that is given there and questions that are based on that. Let's look at that. Canaan will sleep now. That is the context. That's a line taken from the story. Who is the speaker? Why was Canaan asked to sleep early? What was keeping Canaan up at night? If you go back to the passage, you will know that this statement is made by Rita, his mother. She is a speaker. Why was Canaan asked to sleep early? Because the next day they had to go to Solang Valley at 10 in the morning. So she did not want Canaan to be tired. It was going to be a long day there. What was keeping Canaan up at night? First of all, it was a beautiful sight that he was looking at from his window. And secondly, he was very excited. He was too excited to sleep. Likewise, there are 2 more contexts that are given there. Answer those questions. We've reached the grammar section, and today we are going to look at verbs. What are verbs? Doing words are called verbs. A verb is a word that is used to describe an action, state or occurrence. It forms the main part of the predicate of a sentence. We know the subject and the predicate, and verb is a major part of the predicate of a sentence. And in this lesson, we are going to look at 2 types of verbs. One is transitive and the other is intransitive. Let's look at transitive. Transitive verb states an action that passes on from the doer to the object. It is always used with an object. So if a sentence has a verb and it has an object, then that verb would be a transitive verb. Example, the boy hits the stone. The boy is the subject. Hits is the verb. The stone is the object. So there is an object in this sentence, and hence the verb hits is a transitive verb. Intransitive verb states an action that does not pass on the object from the doer. Example, the dog barks. There is no object in this sentence. It just has a subject and then the verb. So the verb is intransitive. There is an exercise that is based on this concept. Underline the verbs in the given sentences and state whether they are transitive or intransitive verbs. Let's look at the first one. The girls were singing and the audience was listening. Here the verbs are singing and listening. Verbs are the words that refer to an action. So what is the action the girls are doing? Singing. What is the action the audience is doing? Listening. So singing and listening are the verbs. Is there an object in this sentence? No, there are only subjects, the girls and the audience. So there is no object and hence it is an intransitive verb. Second one, the boy's laughter was infectious. Here the verb is was and there is no object, so it is intransitive. Number 3, he was talking continuously. Here the verb is talking and there is no object in this sentence, so it is an intransitive verb. Number 4, the dog bit the man. Here there is an object, the man, and bit is the verb, so that verb is a transitive verb. Time changes all things, that's number 5. Here the verb is changes and the object is all the things. So this is a transitive verb again. Changes is a transitive verb in this sentence. Number 6, the sun has risen. There is no object again, so this is an intransitive verb. Number 7, when the clock strikes 2, you can have your lunch. Strikes and have are the verbs here. There is an object called lunch, so that is a transitive verb. Number 8, the sun is not shining brightly. The subject is the sun, there is no object, the verb is shining. It is an intransitive verb. Fill in the blanks using the right form of the verbs given in the brackets. That's the next exercise that's there. Number 1, I have dashed my homework. Complete. I have completed my homework. The right form of that verb would be in the past, so completed. Number 2, Simran was dashed loudly. It has to be a past continuous because there is a was there. Simran was laughing loudly. Number 3, the window was dashed by Sahil. The window was broken by Sahil. Broken is the answer. Number 4, he is dashed the truth. Speak. What is the right form of speak? He is. So it is speaking. He is speaking the truth. Number 5, I dash a lot of pain in my legs after the accident. So the accident is over, so it is in the past. So what is the past form of feel? Felt. I felt a lot of pain in my legs after the accident. Sam always dash his homework on time. This has to be simple present because it says Sam always. So Sam always finishes his homework on time. Number 7, she dash a melodious song. Sing. What is the appropriate form of the verb sing here? She sang a melodious song. Number 8, the dog is dash. The dog is. The appropriate form of sleep would be sleeping. The dog is sleeping. That's the end of the chapter, and we always end with a learn to communicate section. So in this chapter, you have to converse or practice your talking, and this is the context. You have to act like a tourist and your friend has to act like a travel guide. We also had another story where we looked at a travel guide. What was that? A visitor, remember that story? Where a travel guide called Vishwas was guiding the tourist around the place. Likewise, you pretend that you go to a new place and there is a travel guide, and you have to have a conversation with the travel guide. And if you are acting as the travel guide, you would know that you are a localite from that place. You would know every place you are taking this tourist to. So you have to talk about where they are going to be taken to, what is the significance of that place, what all they can do at that place, and stuff like that. So it will be a wonderful conversation that you will be going to practice with your friend. The next part is writing. So imagine that you're going to a hill station on a vacation. What are the things that you would pack? Based on the kind of activity that you want to do at this hill station, you would pack some gears. Now you have to make a list of gears that you're going to pack and also mention how each item will be used. What is the use of each item that you're packing? So that's it about this chapter. Let's move on to the poem section. This is a very famous poem by a very famous poet called Robert Frost. Let's read this. The road not taken. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller. Long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. The poet has come to the woods or a forest area, and he sees two roads, and he chooses the road that is less travelled. The road less travelled is also a phrase that people use to denote a choice that they made that was unpopular. So the poet here seems to have taken the road that is less travelled because it was more grassy, it was not a worn out clear path, but he took that risk. Sometimes in life we do make some unpopular choices. It may not be the choice everybody makes. There are some word meanings that are given: diverged, yellow wood, undergrowth, trodden, and their meanings that are given there. Understand those words. And then let's go into learn words section. Make sentences with the following words. There is a list of words that are given. You have to make sentences of your own using each of those words. Appreciation of the poem is the next section. Yes, there are questions that are based on the poem, and this will really make sure that you understand and appreciate the poem. Let's move on to the grammar section. Here we are going to look at active voice and passive voice. What are those? When the verb shows that the person or thing denoted by the subject does something, it is said to be in the active voice. Example, my mother loves me a lot. Here the verb is loves, and it simply denotes that this verb is an action that is done by the subject, which is my mother. My mother loves me a lot. When the verb shows that something is being done to the person or thing denoted by the subject, it is said to be in the passive voice. For example, I am loved by my mother. So here we see that the action loved is done to a person. That is I. I am loved by my mother. So this is passive voice. Let's look at the exercise that's based on this concept. Number 1, the dog chased the cat. So it is directly denoting the action that is done by the subject, the dog. So this is active voice. The dog chased the cat. Now if we have to change this sentence into passive voice, we have to change the order. So it has to be like the verb is done by the dog. So here the verb is chased. So we have to start with the object. The cat was chased by the dog. It has to be was chased because the sentence is in past tense. Number 2, the police caught the thief. Of course, this is active voice. If we have to change it into passive, we have to say the thief was caught by the police. Number 3, the letter was received by him yesterday. This is in passive voice. Now let's convert that into active voice. He received the letter yesterday. Number 4, Ram was praised by the teacher. This is again passive voice. Let's convert that into active voice. The teacher praised Ram. Number 5, the ball was dropped by Mohan. This is in passive voice. Let's change that into active. Mohan dropped the ball. That brings us to the end of this chapter. Have a great day. See you later.